afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Furry Friday on this cold, ugly, blistery day. I can't wait until we can stop talking about the weather.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It was treacherous getting here today. You took the ring road.
Yeah.
I took the bypass. Almost died because somebody just decided it was spring roads. It was not. But we got here safe enough. Yep.
Yeah.
So, you guys, we're doing this super quick. We've got 3 really easy tips that you can implement right away to improve how you're feeding your pet. And I should have said, really, they don't have a lot to do with food. It's the things that we're doing today. And then we've got a bonus tip.
We do have a bonus tip.
Bonus
Yeah.
tip.
Yeah.
So now you're actually getting 4. But,
Yeah.
okay, the first thing, what we wanted to talk about, the importance of bowls. Yes?
So important. We're very focused on pet nutrition, but I think lots of us forget about the way that we are feeding the dogs is just important as the food that we're feeding them.
100%.
So,
100%. Yeah. And so Ella has our Messy Mutts stainless bowls. Why do we have stainless bowls? And you may have been in store or you may have looked on our online store and went, why do they literally only have these bowls? There is a reason, you guys. We know we never, ever want to feed out of
Plastic. No plastic. We don't want to do plastic.
never.
No.
Sometimes little furry guys come in here and the tips of their noses are discolored, and I will ask the pet parent, do they eat out of a plastic bowl? And the answer is almost always yes. So when the food is in that plastic and the fats in the food are exposed to light and air, that creates a chemical reaction with the plastic, the exact same way as if we were storing our food in plastic. We never want to do that. So when we're putting food in, even if it's dry is the worst. When we're putting a dry food into a plastic dish, it creates a chemical reaction that can actually start to discolor their nose. It removes the pigmentation from their nose. So we never want to use plastic.
No.
We don't want to use ceramic. I was using ceramic for a long time because I thought it's not plastic. Ceramic is awesome. Not so much. Ella, you want to talk about why ceramic is not awesome? Why are you laughing at me?
Just the voice crack was entertaining. Anyways, so we don't want to use ceramic for our dogs either. That was even, I think I just switched to stainless steel probably a year and a half ago. Like, just learned this as well. We're all in the same boat here. But ceramic, if you actually look at it after a couple months of use, even a couple weeks, you can see little lines in it. These are actually little micro cuts, and what is not so fun about that is all that bacteria from the food that you're feeding is now staying in those, and it's really impossible to get those cuts clean. So they're just harboring bacteria all the time, which is not fun. Ceramic's great for probably the first week or 2, but as soon as it gets that first little micro cut in it, it serves no purpose.
Yeah, they're little like hairline fractures. And when I first learned about that, I went and I grabbed Zener's because I had like 6 or 8 ceramic bowls, so I always had a nice clean bowl to use. And I went and grabbed them, and I'm like, well, oh my God, there they all are. I never looked at the bowls that close before, but there's all those little micro tiny fiber hairline fractures, tiny. And all of the bacteria from the food will sit in there and just faster is never good.
No. And some of you guys might use ceramic for your plates at home. I'm sure you can see the cuts in it too. Human food's a bit different. I can't really speak to how that affects it, but I know with dogs, they're getting their little grody mouths in there. They're eating food that's just naturally comes with a lot of bacteria, right? So that's kind of the difference. I think we can use ceramic for our plates at home if you're
we're
like,
not licking them. Well,
we're not
always. No,
depends on what we're eating.
But usually the bacteria from our mouth is not smeared all over our bowls, where that's kind of the difference with them. Somebody's going to sleep.
I think he's sleeping.
Yeah. So we've got 2 options that we can basically do for bowls, and these can be done right now, today, to make sure that we're feeding a non-bacteria, non-infected, non-festered food, and we don't have all of the issues that are associated with the bowls we don't want to use. We can use stainless steel like Ella was showing you, and we want to make sure that it is a quality stainless steel. We don't want to run off to the, I've said this before, the solar door. You know what I mean? We don't want to go buy some metal dish. We want to ensure that it is stainless steel, high quality stainless steel. Then we know that we can keep it as safe as possible. Or we can use like a glass dish, like a Pyrex bowl, like a really thick Pyrex bowl glass dish, because the bacteria and the gunk cannot penetrate the glass. It cannot get, so we can disinfect that glass just like we can disinfect a stainless steel bowl. And we always want to make sure that we are, this is tip number 2, you guys, because the tip number 1 was about bowls. Tip number 2, we always want to wash and dry the bowls after each use. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Melanie, Julie, Lisa, Lee. Sorry, we were neglecting our duties here. But we always want to wash and dry the dishes after we use them. Water, if you've ever noticed, a water dish can get that
Slime almost.
slime, that
Yeah.
film on the side of the dish. That is from the bacteria in their mouths. So the best way that we can prevent that, 1, get a good bowl, right? Stainless or glass. 2, wash and dry that water dish every time you fill it. So of course we're always giving them fresh water every day, but we always want to make sure that we wash and dry it thoroughly before we fill it with water again. And that helps us get rid of that bacteria, the slime ring.
If we think of it, think of your dog's water bowl like a lake. It is a nice little body of water. Lots of things like to live in there. If you've ever seen LJ in a lake, picture it that way. We want to keep this bowl nice and clean. We want to keep it like the cups we drink out of, because they don't have slimy film. So do clean that off every day. We don't want anything growing in there. Water is a great spot for bacteria to grow. So that's why especially those water bowls have to be cleaned and dried every single day.
Drying. And that was something I always gave Zaner fresh water. I always gave my big guys fresh water, obviously, every day. I would dump the old water and I would rinse and refill. And that's it. And I also, my big guys used to eat out of plastic bowls. I didn't know. I'm like, oh, these are cool looking. They match my kitchen. Anyways, but there was always that slime around it, and I would wash it every once in a while thinking, how come it's slimy? Well, that's why. Okay? The next thing we wanted to talk about that is something that you guys can implement right away, feeding times. Okay? Everybody, no, I'm not going to say everybody. Many pet parents out there, I used to do it myself. Spencer, my big dog, now I know why he used to do this. 5 o'clock was supper time. That's, my big dogs ate once a day, and 5 o'clock was supper time. And Spencer would walk into the kitchen to Madison's bowl, my female, and he would look at me and he would smack her bowl towards me like it's 5 o'clock, right? But now I know why, because I did that. I fed every day at 5 o'clock, every day at 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock. What we do when we feed at the exact same time every day is we start to create that circadian rhythm. Well, we don't start to create it. It exists already, but we
Reinforce it.
Yeah. And so because I fed Spencer and Madison every day at 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, their bodies got used to eating every day at 5 o'clock. So naturally, biologically, their bodies started to get ready to prepare for the meal, the feast. And if they didn't get it at 5 o'clock, you may notice this sometimes. If you miss your feeding time, the furry guy throws up, has a little bit of bile, that white or yellow foamy stuff. And that's because the body is getting ready to digest a meal that didn't come. What else do you want to say about that? Oh, you wanted to talk about, we can do.
Yep. So essentially, this is not necessarily a bad thing. This is a very natural thing for humans, pets, those types of things. It builds up their acidity before their meal because their body's predicting it. It needs that acidity to digest the food. Not a bad thing, but if you miss it, it is. So if you are the type of person who you're like type A and you're gonna feed at every single time, every single day, doesn't matter what happens, go for it. It's completely fine. Your dog is used to digesting that way. But if you're the type of person who you're like, I don't know, some nights I get home later and some nights then don't. Like, make sure we're feeding them at different times to prevent that acid buildup and them throwing up bile, because that's not fun for anyone.
Not fun. No.
No.
And so what you can do, because here's the other, life happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I have to go out of town and I have a rhythm with Zane that he gets food at this time and this time, but now my parents are looking after him, or my friends are looking after him, or he has to go to a boarding facility and they don't feed at those times. He's not going to have a very fun time when he's there because his little body is going to be completely out of whack, not getting food when it biologically thinks the food is coming. I'm ready. Where's the food? And then it doesn't come because they got different times.
Yep.
So what you can do if you think, okay, geez, like, one, my little guy does have bile, or two, we're being really strict on, we are feeding at these exact times, but we know we've got a trip coming up that they're not going to feed at those times, gradually make these changes. We don't just go, okay, he eats every day at 7 a.m. today, now tomorrow he's going to eat at 9 a.m. We don't want to do that. If he eats every day at 7 a.m. today, maybe tomorrow he eats at 10 after 7 or quarter after 7. And then maybe the next day it's 20 after 7 or 7:30, or you do a couple days at the 10 after, quarter after, and then you move to the 20 after. And then you start to like shift it so that, but you're gonna gradually get there. Same thing with supper. If supper is always 5 o'clock, maybe tomorrow it is 5:15. I do this with Zaner. So he's got, now the other thing that I try to do is I try to feed him within an 8-hour window. So that he has 16 hours of no food going into his system so that his GI tract has the ability to rest. So I try to do kind of, it's intermittent fasting with him. I try to feed him in an 8-hour window. But today, maybe it was 9 o'clock. Tomorrow, it might be 9:30. The next day, it might be 8:30. He kind of has a 2-hour window in the morning that he gets fed anytime around there, but it is not 7 a.m. every single day. And then he's like pawing at me to get out of bed, right? Same thing with supper. Sometimes he eats supper at 4, sometimes he eats it at 6. It just depends when he had breakfast, but I try to feed him in that 8-hour window. Okay.
Cool.
Bonus tip. This is Ella's bonus tip because she loves it.
This is my favorite thing in the world. We're talking about bowls, but big shock, you don't have to feed your dog out of a bowl. You do not have to feed your dog or cat out of a bowl. Feeding time is such a wonderful time to do enrichment with them and to tire their little brains out, because the best way to enrich them is to use food to get them motivated to want to do little brain games. So you can do snuffle mats, you can do little toys, you can scatter feed their food and just throw it on the ground. You do not necessarily have to feed out of a bowl for every meal. So this is a lovely little snuffle mat here. This is a peacock one, it's kind of cute. But you can totally just feed their food in here. Who said you have to use a bowl to feed your dog all the time? We also have, this is kind of an interactive feeder. So they almost have to kind of work around these little grooves. It just takes a little bit of extra time. Takes some brain power. Licky mats as well. These are a great option. If you do feed a dry diet, you're like, hey, I want to feed my buddy something special. I'm going to feed wet food, but on a licky mat, so it takes longer. So also, this is a soda pup. So this is similar to like a Kong concept, but you can stuff their food in it. You can put like a bone broth and freeze it, so it takes longer. There's lots of fun things you can do with meals. You don't have to necessarily always feed out of a bowl.
If you are using these types of interactive toys that you are going to put some sort of a wet option, whether it's food, yogurt, bananas, bone broth, what have you, and you're going to freeze it, stuff your toy, take a straw, and poke it through so that it goes all the way through. The reason we want to do this is because there's a hole at the end, a bigger hole, and a smaller hole at the other end. When we stuff it and freeze it, if we don't poke a hole all the way through, we can actually create a little bit of a suction when they go in there to lick that, and then they could get their whole tongue stuck in there.
Yeah, not
so
fun.
No, best thing to do is if we're gonna stuff and freeze, stuff it, stick a straw through so that it comes out the other end so that you know you've got a hole all the way through. Freeze it, and then you can take the straw out, like let it thaw for a little while, and then you can pull the straw out so that there is actually a hole all the way through before we're getting the furry guys to lick. But you can also do just supper in here.
Yeah.
If you put a little bit of banana or a little bit of Greek yogurt or a little bit of wet food, and then you put some dry food or what have you, they're gonna work on this to get all the supper out.
Yep.
Takes them longer than going through a bowl.
Exactly. Especially for cold weather.
Right.
Tires them out.
Yes,
Yep.
100%. So you guys, that was 3 tips plus a bonus of things that you could do right now today to improve how you're feeding your furry guys. If you ever have questions, we're always here. We are happy to help. And we thank you for spending some time with us today. We are here till 6 o'clock. Tomorrow, 11 till 6, closed on Sunday.
And Monday.
Oh, yeah. Back on Tuesday. I was going to say back on Monday, you guys. Good thing for Ella, because otherwise I would have been here. All right. So if you guys ever have questions, like I said, you know where to find us. And otherwise, enjoy your long weekend, and we will chat with you either in store or online.
Bye.